You've read all the right books. You know your childhood traumas by heart. You can spot a projection from a mile away, and you can talk for hours about transpersonal experiences. You meditate. You've curated your inner circle, and you're constantly reaching for the light. On the surface, you've done the work. Your life looks spiritually flawless. But why then, despite all this awareness, is there still a lingering sense of emptiness inside? Why hasn't real change taken root? And why do the same old patterns keep tripping you up? Welcome to the subtlest, most deceptive trap on the path of self-growth. A trap designed by your own mind. Today, we're talking about spiritual bypassing. We'll explore how the ego learns to wear the mask of enlightenment, just to ensure its own survival. Because for the ego, a true transformation feels like a death sentence. In psychology, spiritual bypassing is the act of using high-level concepts as a form of anesthesia. Our mind is a brilliant defense attorney. It quickly realizes that old defenses, like raw anger or denial, no longer work in the polite society of conscious people. So, the ego sews itself a new suit. Now, it's not afraid of conflict. It's choosing the path of unconditional love. It's not avoiding responsibility. It's trusting the flow of the universe. One of the clearest examples is our refusal to engage in difficult, raw dialogue. When someone challenges us, or when we can't handle our own emotions, it's so much easier to say, "We're just on different frequencies. You're lowering my vibration." It sounds beautiful, almost holy, but if you look closer, it isn't spiritual growth. It's esoteric arrogance. We've built a wall out of terminology to avoid admitting our own helplessness. We aren't healing the wound. We're just covering it with a very expensive, gold-trimmed bandage. The spiritual facade is comfortable. It can last for years as long as you stay in your sterile environment, surrounded by like-minded people, sipping tea to the sound of Tibetan bowls. But life has other plans for you. It always finds a way to test your facade. Your moment of truth doesn't happen on a yoga mat. It happens in traffic when someone cuts you off. It happens when a loved one says exactly what hits your softest spot. It happens when life spins out of your total control. This is where it gets interesting. If your awareness is just a mask, you turn psychology into a weapon. Instead of feeling your pain, you begin to dissect the other person. I see you're projecting your shadow onto me. That's just your unhealed trauma speaking. We've stopped arguing like human beings and turned to attacking each other with terminology. We use our knowledge of the psyche like a microscope to examine everyone else's flaws, just so we don't have to feel how much our own hands are shaking in that moment. So, how do you tell the difference? How do you know if you're actually growing or just building a more sophisticated cage? The difference is in the details. Look at your relationship with pain. Spiritual bypassing uses slogans to smother the pain before it can even speak. It forces you to say, "I'm grateful for this experience," while your heart is actually breaking. It's an intellectual mask that demands you act healed before you've even allowed yourself to be hurt. Look at mistakes. A person wearing a spiritual mask blames the wrong energies or complex cosmic cycles. A mature person simply admits, "Yes, I acted poorly. I was wrong." No elaborate alibis needed. And finally, connection. A spiritual mask loves to lecture. It distances itself by constantly diagnosing shadows and projections in others. True awareness, however, feels compassion. It doesn't dissect another person like a lab rat. It sees itself in them. A true master doesn't become a superhuman. They lose the need to be anyone special at all. They become nobody, and in that nobody, there's infinite freedom. True growth isn't about never getting angry or afraid. It's about finally being honest about it. It's about being brave enough to be messy, vulnerable, and profoundly human. If you felt a slight sting while listening to these words, if you recognize yourself in these descriptions, don't rush to be discouraged. Quite the opposite. The second you say to yourself, "I think I'm playing this game too," the illusion shatters. The ego has nothing left to protect because you've already pulled off the mask. Think back to the last time you were truly hurting. What did you do first? Did you analyze the traumas of those who hurt you? Did you search for a higher meaning? Or did you find the courage to freeze for a moment and admit, I'm just really hurting right now. I feel small and helpless, and no book can help me in this moment. Real healing only begins where explanations end. You cannot heal a facade. You can only heal the wound that you finally stop hiding. We often treat self-development like a project with a deadline. We wait for the day we'll be fully healed and finally reach the finish line. But the truth is, this process has no endpoint. To learn is to be alive, and that path continues until our very last breath. This isn't a sentence. It's the ultimate liberation. You no longer have to carry the burden of being perfect or attained. You are allowed to simply be a student. Every day, in every emotion, in every mistake, where the need to hide behind complex concepts ends, a real encounter with yourself begins. Give yourself the luxury of being human, because the real magic of life doesn't happen when you've explained everything. It happens when you finally decide to participate in it. Without masks, without armor, and without shortcuts. Just be.